Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our expert webinar. Thanks for joining us today's expert webinar. My name is Aaron Samuel, and I'm from Spring People, India's biggest corporate training technology company. As a part of today's webinar, we have Ms. Goutami Dutt, L&D OLX India. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type in those questions in the question box, and Ms. Goutami will answer all those questions at the end of the session. Now, without any further ado, over to Ms. Goutami.
Good afternoon and welcome to one and all. Thank you, Spring People, for this opportunity. Thank you, participants, for joining. And I'm sure a 1 hour session has to be really interactive, and that too on a topic like technology and trends in L&D 2018. So we look forward to an interesting and interactive session. Thank you. Talking about trends and overcoming challenges that L&D faces. If that is the topic, then the good news is that trends will keep coming. I have been observing this space for the last 2 decades of my life, and I think more than trends, it's the challenges that remain really our biggest obstacle as L&D professionals. The good news is that trends sounds cool. We get excited, whether it is AI at one end, byte learning at the other end, MOOCs, everything sounds very exciting. But in all this, we face our own challenges. And with every new technology trend that comes for an L&D, there comes its fair share of challenges. But that's the exciting part, I guess. That's what keeps L&D on the toes. And anything that we try, which is new, has its own share of challenges in implementing. My purpose of this webinar is to give you a first-hand view of what were some of the challenges that I faced when we implemented some of these technology tools in the organization that I look for, and what were the challenges and how really and practically did we overcome these challenges? Because that's the real story that I want to discuss today. You can catch hold of any trend, but the real story lies in what were the real challenges and how did an individual organization in its team and its people really share the same thing. So let me just talk about a bit about my organization first. So I am from OLX. OLX, if I think most of you should be smiling at this stage saying, I know what it is. It's the Bechto platform. That's perfectly right. OLX is the world's #1 online classifieds marketplace. We call it a marketplace because for secondhand goods, this is the platform that you buy and sell. OLX is a part of the Naspers group of companies, which is pegged at a 75 billion USD market cap. This company is based out of South Africa. OLX in particular is present in 40 countries. Naspers as a whole is present in 130 countries and has an umbrella of organizations under its wings. So basically it's a heavy, big behemoth conglomerate. Our tagline is we improve people's lives by creating a win-win exchange. And that's where the story begins. So talking about what did OLX do specifically? The first thing that it did for building organizational capability is, if you can see, here is a LinkedIn study that I first want to show, which is what are some of the challenges that L&D professionals, in spite and despite of deploying any technology, any upmarket thing in the market, what happens to the base complaints? What are the common complaints that we hear? Let me pick up the first one that you see on the left hand, which is the 5th one. Point number 5, it says, activating executives to lead the learning change. I think I will grow old and die with this saying, there is no executive sponsorship in my L&D programs. Much as I used to complain about it, I think in the initiative and the way we rolled it out, we found an answer to it. The answer is bring a case that highlights the need and highlights the what if scenario. What if we do not deploy this? What will happen? Rather than what we do as L&D professionals is we highlight what will it bring, what kind of budgets. The top management at the top board is not really keen. They want to get a little edgy and nudgy if they know what will happen if I do not implement this. Coming to the challenge number 2, which is how do I get managers to be a part of this entire journey? The very common complaints and the very common excuses and the very common giving up is, I don't have the time, this is the wrong time, we are busy, our boys are busy, sales is coming, products are on the verge of launching, this is not the right time. Fair enough, hear them and make sure that whatever time you fix is on their behest and not at our behest. Every meeting you will ask them for the time and not pick up your time, because if you pick up your time, it becomes your agenda. I think the biggest strategy that we have to follow is how do we get employee adoption? My personal experience with online learning is that the ennui, the boredom, the fact that I know it all, the fact that it's available at any point of time is our biggest detractor to employee adoption. Well, success stories, beating the employee's drum, not your own drum. L&D has to be very careful that it's not what you are doing, it's what they are doing and what they are getting out of it, which really brings out the real challenge. So take a shift is what I would say, L&D, look at the entire prism from the other person's perspective and see what is it that they will get, what is it that they will miss, what is it that the organization will get, and what is it that the organization will miss. If your L&D strategy is bordering around this, chances are you will have a success story that perhaps many of you would have faced, saying, yes, I have a success story to share because I got involvement, I got partnerships, I got stakeholder acceptance, all that and much more. I also would like to challenge here all my young participants here, saying that agility, your own learning curve has to be way above. And I will reiterate this point time and again. It's not how much you know, but how well you know what you know. As L&D people, it's written on our foreheads that, oh my God, this person should be far more better aware than what I am. Sure enough, that's a very fair expectation. So make sure you are at the top of your game, come what may. If that is not happening, then possibly the organization is not seeing the value of your L&D initiatives. So that brings me to what are some of the things we did to build organizational capability for success. I shared the background of the organization with you, which was as brief as it could get. Having said that, my bulk of my population is the young generation. And I have learned so much from them. And I think their hunger and curiosity to learn is mind-blowing. So if you can't keep that rhythm as an L&D person with their learning appetite, possibly we will run the race and they will win us hands down over. So in this entire journey, make sure you are at the top of it at every step. Whatever I will share is for pure reasons, strictly confidential and just within the realm of this webinar. Having said that, you are absolutely free to ask any question in the question box and I will find a way to figure out how best can I answer. But rest of it is all confidential in terms of our business metrics, etc., what we were chasing. So I will respect confidentiality on that. Thank you. So what did we want to achieve? Now, this entire what we wanted to achieve was not what L&D wanted to achieve. And that was a big shift in paradigm. We had no agenda of ours. We drove the organization's agenda, which is why we had just a few points here. If it were an L&D agenda, it would have gone out of the window and out of the marketplace saying, we want this, we want this, we want this. But it didn't happen because we heard the key stakeholders and we heard them and we said, what is it that they want? So they wanted L&D should drive the OLX India goals. That was a challenge. We just took it the way it came, because business challenges and L&D normally are, there's never a very win-win in the two situations. And they say, well, you will not understand us. And we say, you will not understand us. I think the second big learning for us was we focused on a critical few. And I would repeat and lay emphasis on that. Please do not go all over promising the moon and the earth and beyond and saying, this is what we can do, this is what we can do, we'll change the earth, we'll change the face, we'll change everything, we'll change. We will not. Just be humble, just accept top 2-3 challenges that you can, make sure you are, and that builds up your credibility rather than taking the whole metrics on your side and then not achieving anything. That was another thing that as a learning, I would like to share. And be humble. As L&D, go back and forth, keep asking people, are we on track? Are we on track? Are we on track? what else do we need to do? Because if you don't do that, then any ROI, any impact is all your game. When you go back to the stakeholder, there is normally a little bit of a reaction which might say, well, we didn't see that. So go back and forth, keep measuring the success and the impact, even if it is in few words, but get it from them. So once we had this about what we wanted to achieve, we just ran the game and we said, I think we are focused and we know what we need to do. So out of this slide, if I were to ask you to pick up one key point, I would say focus on critical few and make sure that happens. Your critical few should be the most difficult ones to achieve, but you should be able to make that happen. Then you have a success story to talk about. To make this happen, and how this came up is we heard people like how we fixed up FGDs, which is focus group discussions, with the rank and file of the organization. We made it inclusive, we made it an informed discussion group, and we had elements of informality. Unless there is informality in these discussions, a lot of it goes under the carpet. So we asked questions like, a genie has come to you, what are the 3 things you want to learn? What are the 3 things not happening here? What are the 3 things you want to achieve for your team? So we just made it a little bit more fun and informal so that the real skeletons come out of the cupboard and we are able to measure and see something. So as you can see, we had various things. We heard various things, which was both a big input to us, to the management, to the leadership, and nobody knew that L&D is able to tap into this kind of an information which has been lying in our boxes, and nobody ever kind of took a chance to understand what it is all about. So rank and file, don't pick up your few, the weakest link is your strongest chain in terms of an L&D initiative, and then you will realize, I'm glad I spoke to this person, because that's the real crux of the organization. So here people organize discussions like this so that you cover people before you rush out your agenda, and that's more solution oriented rather than situation oriented. So look at the situation first, and then from this slide, if I were to pick up, I think involve people, make the discussions informal, and you have to spearhead these discussions. Do not give it to somebody else in the group and say, just talk to these few people. No, if you don't have the time, don't do it. But if you want to do it, then do it completely with your heart and soul, because they will tell you many things which no program will ever unfold. Coming to the next, so when we heard from them, then we said, what did the plan look like? The biggest success, and I'll be candid enough to say, it was a myth that I shattered for myself, saying, if you have clear business goals, L&D can partner with you, however cumbersome and difficult the business goal may be. But if you do not partner on the business goal, then whatever other initiatives you do is not accounted and not counted and not appreciated, and is all in vain, because it's not what the business focuses are. It's a cluttered matrix. Having said that, I said that I've shared it on an as-is basis. So our first top part was, what was success look like for OLX India? What were the business goals? Based on the FGD that we had, we came up with these themes, which we divided into 2. One was core business leadership and the other was self-leadership, because the two again have to be, if your self-leadership skills are not up the game, your business leadership capabilities are also not going to happen. So we figured out these learning themes. We also said, what kind of interventions would it need? Everything is not a program, please. The moment you say a program, all my young generation has this concept of a program, saying there'll be a classroom, there'll be a projector, there'll be some slides, there'll be some food, and there'll be a nice high tea snacks. And that's something that I give it to them, because that's the notion of it. But when you blend it, when you combine it with the same topic, you will have training program, you will have coach, you will have industry conferences. It's a blended approach. And suddenly that one topic, one theme becomes so pervasive that everything fits into one. Coming to the mindset. So we had goals, we had capabilities. In any L&D, the biggest problem that we attack is mindsets. Mindset is nothing but an attitude which says I can or I can't. What's clouding my mind? And any adult learner would say that it's a mindset that we have to crack before we come to the learning theme. It's not that anybody doesn't know about leadership or how to manage a team. It's the mindset that says that, no, I think I like my style and it's my own set of way of working. We have to attack that first before we come to any program or solution. So for us, it was first the mindsets to be addressed, and then the capabilities will be just woven into it. And then finally, it'll all get back to the goals. We did this. It wasn't easy, my friends. It wasn't easy at all. We really didn't know what we have taken up, but we took it up. We also had very clear measurement parameters. We are a data-driven organization, so nothing without data. But we at the same time said learning and data and measuring learning on behavioral aspects is always a tricky. So let's find a way to measure that as well. So with this slide, we moved on to the next, and which was how did we do it? So we linked everything of this to the big picture. Every individual was like instrumental for us in understanding what is the big picture. So we had partnering with leaders. We had, if you see all the steps, each is like a step-wise learning from one to the other. We did not take one step and then moved on to step 6. No, we completely kept, and this goes back to my point in the second slide where I said you have to keep measuring your learning intervention, saying, are they going the way that you had anticipated? Is the leadership involved with what you are doing? Are they feeling a sense of what and how it is going? So for us, everything was like critical, and we did not proceed to step 3 before we moved to step 4, step 5, and then step 6. And with the result, individuals felt a part of this entire initiative, and they felt for the first time that the business goal is something that they are driving individually. So that's how we made it akin to the big picture. We also wanted to track the whole process. So for every employee, I have about, at this stage when we did this exercise, we were about a 300 strong. Today we are 500 strong. Within the last 2-3 months we've added. But with this 300, for each and every employee, we tracked what is their criticality of the skill currently, which skill set are we talking about, what is the current level of the skill. So if you can see, we identified 3 capabilities. Critical few, we did not pick up all 6 skill sets and said, no, you need in every theme. No, we picked up only 3 for each individual and said, in his job or role, what is the criticality of that skill and where is he currently? So the gap came up, and then that's how the entire process. And no LMS, nothing. This was just a smart Google sheet, some bit of formula, some bit of active elements built in, which kind of automatically, intelligently built up that for these themes, these are the 5 names, for this theme, these are the 6 names, so on and so forth. So the program allocated all these, the entire worksheet was a direct output of the inputs that we had done. So this matrix was our Bible, and till date, if anything has to happen on this worksheet, everything gets done, including our the final appraisal as we are gearing. This is the sheet that will be given to each and every people manager, saying here's the learning KRA for your people. And that's how we tracked the whole process. Any journey, and like I said, don't run this journey on your own. You will burn your fingers, you will feel frustrated, you will feel, oh my God, what's happened to me? So don't run this journey alone. Make sure everything is a part of the larger system. If there is a performance management system, make sure learning and tracking learning is a part of that. If the 2 are run in isolation, nothing will really gain, and you will end up doing your hard work, and that system won't talk to this system. And ultimately, it's the individual who will really not understand, why did I learn what I learned? Business priorities, we needed a balance. We needed the justification that why employee learning is important to achieve the business objectives. Again, if there is a gap in that, no management, ideally, in my sense, will support a learning initiative which does not see the business gains at the end of the day. Be ruthlessly candid, honest, hunger to learn, humble to say that please give me on the job feedback. You have to run to the people managers. You have to understand how these capabilities will get institutionalized. Be like a guide with the manager and understand what and where have you seen the improvement, where is it happening, what are some of the stumbling blocks you still see, so that there is some amount of cohesion and the manager feels confident enough in the L&D capability to say that, yes, I think this is on track, this is what needs to be done, this is what has already been done. So take those success stories also very, very positively. Employee learning utilization metrics, please share it as a part of the KPI. I am a hard taskmaster, so this is the first time we instituted a system that you are self-learners. You have to take your own growth and ownership in your own hands. And we had a system that they nominated themselves for their program. As always, if 20 people self-nominated, there were 8 who never turned up, never updated the tracker, never did anything. After watching for 1 week like this, I made sure that I take back this feedback. Understand first. If you take it as a complaint, it will come back to you saying, "Nay, I don't think L&D was effective enough. That's why my guy didn't attend." Show interest and saying, "I'm concerned why XYZ did not enter. He self-nominated himself. His capability gaps were also there. I was very keen that he wanted to be a part of this program. Is there anything that we can find out? Do you want me to reschedule his name for the next session?" Just play the other way game. Don't blame it on them and saying they don't come. I'll send a memo note and please, seats have gone. Don't. Just take a shift from that old school of thought which says if you don't come for a program, your salary will be cut and blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. It never works. It has not worked. It will not work. Partner with that manager and saying, "I want to understand why these 3 people did not come. I want to help them. I see that they have a potential for growth. I have seen from your capability matrix that you have filled up for them that they have a scope. What can I do? Can I reschedule? Can I put them in some other batch?" And yes, please accept there will be diehards who will nominate themselves for every program. You may have also spoken to their manager, but they still don't turn up. Please leave them. Just leave them. Don't waste your time in following up with them. They will never come to you. So we needed a lot of support from the rest of the organization. And for once, we did not say this is an L&D driven initiative. This was an org-wide initiative. And I'm absolutely thankful to the entire organization for supporting us in this journey. What did we achieve so far? So just giving you a fair run, this initiative ran for us we actually took off in July and we earmarked ourselves till December. We started with clear identification of capability theme, and we did this for 300 plus team members in the entire organization, facilitated discussions that emerged on the 5 capability themes that you can see. We made sure that each and every employee worked with their manager. Behavior improvements. What does the manager want to see as a behavior improvement? Let me take an example here, stakeholder management. Now we are a product and tech driven company facilitated by BI at the end, marketing, finance, HR, verticals, and the whole ecosystem. It was very important for us to identify, after attending a stakeholder management program, what is the manager and his team member from a function, let's say product and design, expecting to see an improvement in his or her team member. Otherwise, stakeholder management can come till the cows come home. But what is that one thing that the manager and his team member is achieving that he or she will get after attending this entire intervention, which was a training program, which was a work alive project with cross-functional, on a small project with cross-functional teams and stakeholders, and finally making a presentation to the key stakeholders. So in this entire intervention, if this person has achieved what he had set out for, we pegged it as a success factor and said, fair enough, we've reached. Multiple touch points. I'll repeat that. Don't finish it with a training program. That's the beginning of a disaster, because you do one program, you set the expectations, and then that's the game starts there. But if you keep putting multiple interventions, going back to the manager, going back to the team, making them as much a party to the game as you are involved, is where the sense lies. The other big learning is bite-sized learning. Today, distractions are dime a dozen. I know for this webinar as well that's going on, I was very skeptical. I said, I cannot talk more than 30-35 minutes because I know how the minds at the other end are getting distracted. As I'm speaking, there are people on WhatsApp, they are here, they are there. Fair, absolutely fair to them, because this is the way we are now wired. In that scenario, you have to change your mold. These long intervention programs don't work for anybody. It's just that for some satisfaction, we end up doing them. But make sure your sessions are bite-sized. As much as they can take, they will take. After that, any which way, their attention span has gone for a walk. So the 90 minutes, which is a blend of face-to-face and any online learning platform that you have. When I say online learning, you as a facilitator or whoever is there have to also be kind of steering that, because it doesn't work that you give them a plug set of earphones and saying, here's a module, here's it, this is a 90-minute session, please do that. It doesn't work. You have to be on your game. You have to do the module yourself. You have to juxtapose portions of your face-to-face program with parts of the blended program. Come up with some very exciting contests on Jaldi 5 and quick ones and quick wins, and make sure the online learning is as exciting as your face-to-face programs are, because the young minds and the busy minds need learning finally as a very exciting package. People drop out of our programs not because they don't want to, but because you are boring. As a facilitator, they say, no, because you were boring, therefore I didn't come for your program. So make sure you are interesting, which is why I go back to my point saying you have to be well read, whether it is leadership stories, facts, figures, what's happening in the world, how is a GST linked to a topic that you're talking, how is a Tesla that goes to space linked with what you're doing. You have to be on the top of your game. Otherwise, I tell my fellow colleagues that you are not in the right profession if you don't like reading and you don't like to be abreast of what's happening in and around you. Just a snapshot. Again, this is only for our internal consumption right now. So not to talk about the metrics, but all that I want to say is that our NPS impact of the program was 100%. And that's because we got the game right. We got the game right. We got the audience right. We got their meaning right. We got their purpose of learning right. And we got the business right with us. If all this goes well, there is no worry why your NPS, which is your net promoter score, on a program measurement will not be less than 100 and nothing less than 100. The ROI in terms of behavior change is something that in this year of appraisal, as we said, each and every manager has been given this track sheet, which records what programs he or she has done, what behavior changes you had earlier mentioned that you want to see. And now they will give us the feedback saying, this is where I see the peg has improved. This is where I see the guy has not improved. This is where I see fundamentally or marginally there has been an improvement. Or this is where I see that he's just, I've never had to complain again. We are hoping that it's the last one. Also, it's great for any internal program. Take voices from your own internal customers. They are your voice of the customer. If you are happy with your program, you should have a sleepless night. You should have all the night sleep, good sleep, when you ask your critical stakeholders if they have attended your program, saying, please give me some inputs on what your feedback for the program was. And that's what you put up to your business, saying, this is what the overall, and keep the mad, sad, bad, glad, all as a part of it. All as a part of it. There are people who came back to me and said, you know what, I found 90 minutes also too much. And I was like, okay, fine. We'll find a way out how we can make it to less than 90 minutes and see how you can still benefit. So don't be defensive. If they are coming back to you, that means something of it they liked about it. So keep that game going up. I'll just skip this slide. This is my one penny tip of as being an L&D person is it is all about stakeholders. You have to manage them and you have to manage them really well. You have to be a person who is well interested in each other's business. As a non-finance person, you have to equally know what are the challenges a finance function faces as compared to a tech function faces, as compared to a product function faces, because the stakeholders will look at you as a messiah and a hope and everything. And if you say, well, you know what, I really don't understand your business, then don't do that, is all that I would say. Share all news, big, small, happy, sad, and keep doing it, because that's where the organization feels at the same gear level. They will move with you as you are moving with them, because they feel so comforted by it, saying, yeah, some things are going right, some things are not going right. For example, in SAD, most of the people to me said the timings are odd. My timing was, we had 2 slots in a day, one in the post morning session, one in the post lunch. Inevitably, the post lunch session met with a lot of SAD saying, you know what, we miss our lunch, you know what, we do this. So all these cribs are very, what should I say, different. There's nothing related to the learning objectives, but you have to take it in your stride. And you have to say, well, let's come up with a working lunch. And I organized brown packets, paper packets for lunches, and said, fair enough, it'll be a working program. And the fire was quelled and we were a happy family. So if you take part in their stories, they will be a part of you. And that's absolutely a given. You can try, test, and come back to me if it doesn't work. My one penny tip once again for all participants here is be informed. Read the newspaper, you like it or not, read the business paper, read an international magazines, good tech magazines, get your game on the top. You may not be a deep learning person, you may not be an AI person, but please know something about it. It gives you the confidence that I know something about it. And again, that little knowledge can be dangerous, so don't use it and throw it at whoever comes. Make sure you know who's the other party and saying, yes, I know a bit of it, can you tell me something more about it? Politics, books, sports. I think that's your biggest bet. This under 19 that happened recently, it was a game to be believed. Coaching, you can get the entire, I can take 100 hours of session on coaching using the coach's style of how he coached that under 19 team in spite and despite of so many pressures and backlashes and as young as the team was. But that's an excellent, so keep informed. People expect L&D to be well read and well informed. They expect nothing short of that. They look at you as if you are some, scholar. And I think it's a good profession to be in because it allows you to be well read. So just make sure you do that. Having said that, I would call my session here and we will take time for the Q&A because I think that's if we can answer a few of that, that'll be really beneficial to the audience. Thank you very much. I will come to the questions. So my first question is, what are the basic principles for designing an appropriate assessment, which is followed by a training program, cognitive and non-cognitive? First things first is that there is a very big difference between cognitive skills and non-cognitive skills. So for appropriate assessment on a training program, I will not be able to name any assessments per se because everything is specialized and everything is with a purpose. A particular assessment may suit a particular cognitive skill or a non-cognitive skill. The base level skill sets that you as an L&D, forget about what's in the market or not in the market, is the first level basic cognitive skills is check his or her understanding of that skill set. Why that is being asked for and where do you think he can use it? That basic first understanding gives you a very fair understanding saying how much, how far, how will I design my program if this is the level of understanding, and do it at a wider scale. Don't have it for just 5 or 10 people. You may design a small set of a questionnaire using a Google form or something and just asking the basic skill sets on a cognitive skill. Let's say you want to do on listening skills, as I'm taking off a cognitive skill, and you're saying, well, this is what I want to measure. We as an organization, we hear that we are not good listeners. So please ask 3 very fundamental related questions saying, when was the last time that you actually listened? And can you recount an incident the way it was told to you? Make it a little subjective, but that kind of a real-time assessment gives you an understanding that what we can do. Answering this question on a platform like this, there is no appropriate assessment, and I will not. There are plenty, many and solid good ones, but it's all dependent on what need you have, who's your target audience, what are you trying to measure, and cognitive and the definition of the skill sets itself differs. What listening means to my organization can mean completely different to your, what statistical skills means to my organization could mean entirely different to yours. So I move on to the next question. Too fast, Shahana? I will take that, but I have to speak fast because this entire presentation was made very simple so that you may please ask questions where you think it was. Capability level is, again, you cannot do it. First, if Preetham, you are an L&D, no, you cannot do it yourself. You will have to ask the manager of that function to say, how will you measure the success of this? How will you say that your person is capable on this skill set? Get that task level. One of the things we use very often is, it's called a scenario. What will happen if he gets this skill set? What are the 2 things he will be able to do? Get that from the functional manager and then work backwards. That's the best way, especially functional capability skills. Behavioral capability skills is a very diluted matter, and unless and until there is real change on the behavior and the mindset of the person, you can measure it, you can see it happening, or you can see nothing of it happening. But for capability level, do not take that at the L&D level. This is not our capability. You will have to get the functional level involved in it, saying what two things must change, or would you envisage, or would you like to change if you want to see a capability difference in this person. So make sure you get involvement in that. For larger organizations, viable, but you may have to take a lot of intervention from the outside marketplace. I don't know how many, what is your team size, etc. But if you have a stable L&D team, I think this is a viable, because you're not running it yourself. Each and every of these employees have there is a line manager, there's a LOB head, there is a business head, there is an HRBP. Everybody can run this game because you are not running it alone. If you think L&D is running it, then again I'll go back to my square one desk and saying, no, L&D is not running this agenda. This is a partnership model. If it works, it can work for 500, it can work for 50,000. Evaluation, ROI tools to measure post-behavioral. There are many in the market available. Again, I did not use any of those, because for me, it was just the now and here saying, you've attended this session, you're going back to your workplace, let the manager report on the capability themes that he had worked out, and said, do you see a change? The only metrics that works is the manager able to see the perceptible difference at the workplace, in the work that he does, in the output that he produces. And there are many ROI tools. You can use the Phillips model, you can use the well-known Kirkpatrick model, but those are all very scientific. And if you have once in a while, you must use them. But I'm talking of an entirely homegrown that I tried, and it worked very well. Thank you for quick and relevant. Well, e-training and CBT, I think, don't work with the two in silos. Please make it blended. By itself, these young minds they can watch a YouTube video, but they can't, the tenacity to watch a learning module is limited. So make sure you are facilitating, or you are actually in the part of that video, taking it in bits and pieces, have an entire setup in the room done with earplugs and everything, giving them ample breaks, completely doing the whole thing just as if you are as if you are facilitating that. Buy alone, when you drive a CBT, you give it to them and you're saying you can take this anytime, anywhere. Learning, it doesn't work. It'll come back to you saying, L&D just thrusted this model on us and it didn't work for us. So make sure you are walking along with it. I'll come to induction program later. Let me just address the other questions. I'm not too sure what this question means. Suppliers of expertise getting wrong with respect to their clients, or needs the client feel. Well, I will not be able to comment on that, because I don't know which coach and what you're talking about. But again, I feel when we have a coach, external or internal, unless and until they are a part of the whole system, they will never get it right. They will never get it right. So please make sure that if the client needs are unaddressed, it's because both of them haven't really seen the game together. No, you should, yeah. So in some cases, yes, absolutely subject matter experts, you have to be. And in some cases, you are just there on the learning. But in an organization, when you work, let's say people who work for PepsiCo, Starbucks, they must know everything and anything about the beverage industry and the coffee industry. They must know where is the best coffee beans produced. They are their L&D people, but they need to know that. So you may not be the expert in coffee beans, but you have to be there, because otherwise your own respect you will see, because people will not come to you saying, no, very, very, very niche areas this person has a focus on. And therefore you have to widen your horizon. Bite-sized learning, keep your modules crisp and crunch. Make sure there is a very cracker of a introduction to the whole module. For my pedagogy says, don't start the topic saying, guys, let's get into the room, and our first topic for the day is managerial effectiveness. You've killed your audience there and then, because 90% of my young audience says, you know what, I can come on the other side and do this topic for you. So have an intelligent cracker of an opening that gives managerial effectiveness back to them. For example, this is just a trick out of the bag. Very recently, I did a program on conscious listening. Conscious listening, and without their saying anything, I just put some chips of paper on the seats that they were supposed to sit, and I just told them that there's something on your chair, just pay attention. When they opened those slips, everybody had something, share a story, tell a song, something like that. All of them kept it back, and then they're just looking at me, and I said, so what did you get on that sheet? And they said something was written on it. We don't know what was written on it. I don't think I can do that. And that's how I dovetailed, saying, this is how people are telling you many things. Your teams are telling you many things. You are looking at it also, but you are just willfully ignoring it. And that's the big thing that you're missing out. So welcome to the session on conscious learning, conscious listening. Listen. If you don't listen and you just have your filters on your mind, so a very subtle way, but I did not have a slide which said, this is conscious listening. I would have half of them sleeping away. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I agree on conflict handling module. That so you have to, which is why I said you as a person in the organization have to understand what kind of conflicts are happening in my organization, what changes, what is the big conflict management that the leadership and the management team is trying to resolve. Therefore, which module fits me? My one penny tip is don't pick up anything that's off the shelf, like walking up to a H&M and saying, okay, I like this dress and I like this dress and let me pick that up. It doesn't work like that. You have to absolutely customize it and saying, I think I'll take bits and pieces of this. I will introduce it with something of my own innovativeness here, and then I'll put the entire thing there. And I will just come to the last question. I'll take this last question, and that's how I will, as you said, don't follow up with people who don't turn up for training session, but then how can we? No, don't follow up them. No, let me correct myself. Don't follow up them with a stick. Follow up with them with a concern and saying, these were the 4 things we covered. I wonder why this person didn't come up, because if I recall, he had a need. Tell me, what can we do? Was there a business need that came up? Be flexible and saying, fair enough, I'll accommodate him in the other one, and then make sure. So follow up for sure, but don't penalize them for not turning up, which is the usual L&D game that we penalize them. We say, this is cancelled, your note will go to the manager, all these things. Don't try that. Get the manager into confidence. And I wanted this person to be in the room. He had expressed his desire. So was there something that came up? So be a partner and not a complainer to that. Trends in technology has been covered ad nauseum in the first session, which is why I said no, but whatever we are speaking, so make sure gamification, simulated, bite-sized learning, video-based, blended approach, a lot of, what should I say, juxtapose it with every element, a podcast, this, that to one topic. So conflict management, pick up a nice podcast, pick up a small video, pick up a little game, put the 3 together, organize a 90-minute session, and stop those slides, and you will get that again. It is all making learning interventions sustainable. You have to first answer that question in the first part of the discussion with the entire organization and the key stakeholders, saying, what is it that you want to see in the organization for L&D? If you don't ask them that, your game will be up with one program, and there goes the sustainability. Build that sustainability as a part of the ecosystem where you keep coming back and going. So for me, these 5 themes are going to be with me till my business goals are achieved. Till such time, this is because this is what the business has asked for. If you don't ask the business, you will run your own game, and after some time they will turn around and say, we didn't ask for it. So make sure that's not what it is there. Okay, Rohit, I like your persistence. I will take that. Induction, how to make it interesting. Again, induction is a session where nobody knows anybody. So one of the things that I try for my induction is I take a goodie from the organization, let's say t-shirts, this, that, we have plenty many merchandise available, pick up at least 4 or 5, put the name of 1 or 2 participants on that and put it under their chair. And then as they walk in, whoever sits on their chair, and then saying, guys, look under your chair, and they will see a packet which says Nitin, and nobody knows who Nitin is. So he'll call out and he says, oh, you are Nitin. So Nitin, why don't you introduce the rest of yourself to the rest of them? So such like 4 or 5 people get a chance. We break the ice. We make sure that at least for that next full day, we know each other whom we are starting with. That's one. 2 is I also get them to redo their visiting cards because they have come from some other organization. It is day 1 for them. Some of their cards and email IDs are still in the process because it's just walked into the system. Today is their day 0 actually. So I give them these nice tent cards and I saying, design your new OLX visiting card and introduce us through that. So it's not about what you are doing. It's again how and how well you measure that, and you dovetail it back to the induction session. And then you saying, thank you for your visiting card, because as I see you have functions, various functions represented. This entire day, you will get to know about other functions and other businesses. So guys, enjoy the party. That's how we do. Thank you, everybody. Rohit, Aaron, I am giving up the screen to you now, and thank you.
Thanks a lot, Ms. Goutami. It was indeed an informative session, and great thanks everybody for being a part of our expert webinar. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you soon next time. We also have another L&D series coming up next month, and please visit Spring People /webinar session to watch this broadcast again. If you want to watch this on YouTube, you can watch it logging into springpeople.com//webinars. Thanks a lot. See you next time.